Our parents moved from Alabama to Minnesota in 1943. My father had a dream for a better life for his children. They both just saw education as a way of escaping some of the harshness of discrimination. My sister's fight for equality started at a very young age. She was valedictorian of her high school class, and I can still remember to this day sitting out in the bleacher and her talking about apartheid in South Africa. I remember first going way back in her life. One, with being the first Black girl to be elected governor in the Minnesota Girls State Program. That was in 1956. Her journey has inspired many others, women, people of color, to become lawyers, judges, professors of law. Joyce, we have always been so proud of all of your accomplishments and the manner in which you have displayed dignity, courage, and been a trailblazer for so many others. We love you dearly and deeply.
I was a student of Professor Hughes in 1974 at Northwestern Law School. Seeing a woman of color in that position meant everything to me. The truth of the matter was and is that there are very few women at the law school who are on a tenure track, and she was the first of color. The tenure of the practice of law in the 70s was that women could probably make really good law clerks or paralegals. The whole notion that you could be something else was not very well supported. Joyce Hughes gave me the courage and the strength to say, okay, I can do this. She is strong, she's wise, she's determined, and more importantly, she is willing to do what is necessary to help women, but women of color in particular. It's time that she got recognized for that.
When I was in school, Professor Hughes was larger than life. Just seeing Professor Hughes for who she is and her authentic self was hugely impactful for me. She is every bit a trailblazer, and you could just go down the list of all of her accomplishments. To me, the biggest one is becoming the first Black female tenure track law professor at a majority school in 1971. And then following that up in 1979 with being the first African-American female tenured professor at all of Northwestern. What really caps it off is her level of humility. Professor Hughes definitely left a legacy in me of being available to mentor those who come behind you.
To me, Professor Hughes is the embodiment of the Margaret Brent Award. She blazed a trail no one had blazed before. She sat in classrooms and showed white students and male students and white faculty members that Black women can do this, and they can do it well. She is the first, and that is so amazing and significant, but she will not let anyone use her or tokenize her or allow her achievements to be a shield or defense against their racism. That, I think, is really important to note. Professor Hughes, you have inspired so many. You stood tall, and you are such an inspiration to me and everyone else to keep moving on and reminding us that it's hard by the yard, but it's cinched by the inch.
My appreciation to those who recommended me and to the ABA Commission on Women for my selection as a 2021 Margaret Brent awardee. I am grateful to be in the company of fellow awardees, as well as illustrious prior honorees, Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Sandra Day O'Connor, Supreme Court justices. Because I was the first Black woman to be a tenure-track law professor at a majority school, it is fitting that I should be honored with an award named for the first woman lawyer in the United States. But I want to acknowledge two other women pioneers. The first woman law professor was Ludi Lytle, a Black woman who taught at a Black law school in 1897. I also stand on the shoulders of Sybil Jones Dedman, a Black woman tenure-track law professor 20 years before I started, but at a Black law school. I'm eternally grateful for the support of family, including my parents, who left rigidly segregated Alabama and traveled north so their children would have more opportunities. As a woman and a Black person, my experiences have been unique. One occurred when a large, prominent Minnesota corporate firm required me to meet with its lawyers over 3 days of interviewing. As the first Black woman to receive the JD from the University of Minnesota Law School, and with distinction, that was more searching than the treatment given other prospective hires. Although I was ultimately extended an offer, which was a first for a Black lawyer, male or female, I rejected it based on principle. Ultimately, I practiced law with a small firm with offices in the same building as that large corporate firm. That law firm disparate treatment is to be contrasted with the federal district court judge who selected me as the first female and first Black person to be a law clerk in the District of Minnesota, and reportedly in any district in the nation. After his death, the judge's son wrote me that he considered me one of his favorite law clerks. I am reminded of what a lawyer who worked for the president of Harvard University said: "Your mere presence alters the circumstances." My competency to be a law professor as a woman and a Black person often has been challenged. My longevity as a professor can be attributed in part to those law students whose comments I would like to share. Your classroom was one of the first places where I did not feel out of place at law school. When you came along as a law professor, the question of mere survival was replaced with a focus on excellence. What an impact you've had on my understanding of the law, both doctrinally and as a social institution. How important your presence is. There are many things that I loved and found helpful about your class, but what was most impactful was being taught by a Black law professor. When I started to teach law, I modeled myself upon you. Similar thoughts have been expressed by some women judges and lawyers whom I did not teach, but who have been inspired by my presence. Throughout my career, which includes a law clerk to a federal district court judge, practicing attorney in Minneapolis, teaching as a law professor, and general counsel of the Chicago Transit Authority, I have faced the double jeopardy of being both female and Black. Fortunately, there are now many with that profile: students, law professors, and some law deans who are moving our profession forward. It is gratifying that my presence has taught that if you can see it, you can be it. This month, I will retire as an emerita professor. Thanks for honoring me.